Raptors fans, Akil Augustine, Sherman Hamilton, the principal, Paul Jones, breaking down a big week of Raptors basketball. Kind of like a litmus test, early midterm for this Toronto Raptors and their new system. And it came with the good and the bad. We'll start with the good, which was that 130-point win against the the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that, on paper, you're thinking this is an NBA Finals contender. And the Raptors made them look like they're a lot of steps away from that. So let's talk about it. Sherm, what did you see on the floor that night that worked so well for the Toronto Raptors club?
I thought they came out aggressively from the start on both sides of the basketball. And, you're kind of ramped up because, this is a team that all the pundits are saying is a championship-built team coming out of the Eastern Conference potentially in the Milwaukee Bucks with the addition of Dame Lillard. So it's easy to get up for that game. And I thought the Raptors did a great job really offensively putting their stamp on the game and defensively backing it up. And Darko deserves credit as well. He had a good game plan on both sides of the basketball. But a couple things happened. Number one, Pascal makes his first three. That, to me, shifts his mentality, shifts his energy, and his I think, feel for what he can do in the game.
And forces the defense to press up
100%, which opens up more things for him. The other thing that happened, I thought, was Dennis Schroeder did a great job of picking up Dame Lillard the second he touched the ball in the backcourt.
He couldn't find any rhythm.
No rhythm at
Nothing.
all. And to me, when you have that happening, and Scotty's doing what he's doing, he's been the most consistent Raptor and the best Raptor so far. But those two elements really, to me, set the tone early in the game. They stuck to the game plan, built that wall against Giannis. They made sure Dame and Giannis didn't have any real flow in their screen and roll. And I'll talk about what that screen and roll means. I don't think it's a good screen and roll scenario for Milwaukee, but whatever.
What, really?
Yeah, I don't.
I want to dig into that, but Jonesy, let's get your thoughts.
Well, I have some thoughts on that too. But to Sherm's point, I thought Toronto came out and they played with great energy. And Milwaukee's the kind of team, when you look at what their potential is and how people are talking about them, they're a team, if you come out without the requisite energy and come out, okay, well, we've got a game plan. We're going to try to get through it. We're going to do what we can. We're going to play hard. No, if you don't come out with superior energy, there's a chance if they get going, you could be in trouble. And, when you think about the game plan, it's much of the same game plan we saw against Milwaukee before. Sherm talked about it, building the wall. But Milwaukee's got a different coach and a new system. And you would think...
One we're familiar with to a certain extent.
You would think that Adrian Griffin might be aware of this is what they might do, but the wild card is some of those people that were able to handle that are no longer there, right? Some of the other parts that were there with Milwaukee, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, these people that, that were used to, okay, they're going to build a wall, this is what's going to happen, this is where I'm going to get my shots. Damian Lillard doesn't know that. He doesn't understand that fully right now because he's still adjusting. And the point about Schroeder picking him up, he's already trying to fit things into the system. Now you've got this other variable, this other distraction. It's interesting talking to Dame before the game. He said, man, the East and the West really are different. He said, for years I was in the West and we were like up and down, up and down. He said that you come to the East, they're banging you, they're bumping you, they're grinding you. And he said, all right, now I know what it is. And so that's part of the game plan too. He's still adjusting to that. Then you have all these other factors. Just make it more difficult for him.
Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about Philly eventually. But quickly, I want to get these thoughts on this pick and roll for Dame and Giannis and why you guys think it may not be as lethal as I'm thinking.
Well, I think we saw it, and we'll talk about Philly, but what Joel Embiid presents as a screener is totally different what Giannis presents. Because Joel can knock down a three, knock down a mid-range,
pick and pop,
then you can really limit Giannis's ability to penetrate to the basket. So he sets a screen, he rolls. If he wants to shoot an 18-foot jump shot, the whole world would say, go ahead and shoot it. But if he wants to roll to the basket, you're going to rotate early. You're going to over-rotate to really clog the paint and make sure he doesn't have that option. You're going to force Dame Lillard after that screen to make a play, either cross-court, double team, get the ball in his hands. If he kicks it to Giannis, you've got time to make sure that he doesn't drive you. And if he wants to shoot it, you'll stay 6 feet away and contest it.
I think if you have either of those guys with the ball and you want to run screen and roll, as Sherm says, the other guy is somewhere else. I would give the ball to Dame to initiate the screen and roll.
And maybe then, Robin Lopez.
Brooke
Lopez.
I play with Brooke Lopez.
And then Giannis is the recipient to a rotating defense now. I mean, Giannis just puts his head down and runs over people. He just plays bully ball the whole time. If you have guys rotating to him and they're trying to close out to a guy who's not really going to shoot it, he might shoot it. You want to invite the shot, but he gets they talk about playing on the catch, and he gets a running start coming towards you. It's toast. It's done.
All right, so unfortunately the Raptors couldn't replicate the success they had against the Bucks against Philly. Now let's talk about this Philly team. 2 games so far. Embiid seems unstoppable when he sees the Toronto Raptors in front of him. Jonesy, your takeaways from what the Raptors have to do to adjust?
I think Nick Nurse has given him the answers to the test.
Okay.
We saw in the first game against Toronto, they spread the floor. Joel was out on the floor above the three-point line, on the wing, top of the key. He made 2 plays to Kelly Oubre for layups where it was as if Nick told him, when you put it on the floor, they're going to come. Joel puts it on the floor once, picks it up, has his head up. That triggers the double. Rotations are late. They're not quite there. The floor is spread. Oubre comes in the back, down the baseline on the backside for 2 layups. You could see last night that he got into a little bit of trouble when he would put it on the floor in the paint, or they were coming from the baseline side. They were coming from his blind side in the middle of the lane. And it's like they've told him, don't do that. Or if you are going to put it on the floor in there, get to the hoop quickly. So I just think, as I've said this before, Nick is a guy that we've seen him make people better. I think Tobias Harris is going to have a terrific year under Nick Nurse.
That was my next question.
I think Kelly Oubre is going to have a great year under Nick Nurse. And these guys that have come in, Robert Covington and these ancillary supplemental pieces from the
Nick
Clippers.
Batum, potentially, eventually.
I think Nick Nurse is going to find a way to use them. And I'm not saying they're a championship contender, but just don't fall asleep on Philly.
Maxey and Harris got to be happy Harden's gone.
Well, especially Tyrese Maxey. I've said this before. I thought that Tyrese Maxey should be the number 2 option when James Harden was there. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and now you involve James Harden.
That'd be hard to do.
Hard to do. But you could just see Tyrese Maxey ascending.
Mr. System?
You could see him. But, you look at that deal, and I think the Sixers got a lot better.
Especially when you factor in the salary cap room they'll have this offseason, 50 to 60 million projected.
Well, that's great, but I think right now they get better.
Okay.
Because as good as Joel Embiid is and as good as Tyrese Maxey is getting to be, Tobias Harris is going to have an opportunity to be a part of things now.
Yeah.
With James Harden there, he kind of stood in the corner, stood on the 3-point line. What we saw against the Raptors was Tobias Harris from before James Harden being there. Put the ball on the floor, attack off the dribble, get to the basket, pump fake, side dribble, knock down a 3, get on the block a little bit, footwork, and one against Pascal Siakam. In transition, being able to finish. The versatility of his game is going to come back based on Nick Nurse's system and the fact that Tyrese Maxey isn't a pound in one spot. He'll pound the ball, but he's going somewhere. And that kind of speed forces defenses to react. And he's a willing passer. And Joel Embiid knows he needs help if he wants to win.
Maxey has already learned to play without the ball because when James Harden was there, you didn't get the ball.
Yep.
And now he's got that, and you're going to add a game, a skill set where he has the ball to make decisions, and he does it pretty well for a guy who plays at that speed.
All right, well, those are our thoughts coming out of the big 2-game stand, and now it's time to hear from Darko Rajakovic.
What do you make of this one? Obviously not the result that you wanted, but it is the second night of a back-to-back.
That's what we signed for. We do not decide on a schedule. This is NBA, and we got to do a better job of bringing it on the back-to-back. I thought that for Milwaukee game, we reacted after a couple of losses. We also got to learn how to react after winning a game and bringing it next night as well. I thought that we started the game, we did not have that extra pop. I thought that Scotty had really good pop to start the game, but we need everything, and we are the team that really depends on every single player that touches the floor to bring value to the team. And tonight we just did not have enough. Give credit to them; they're a great team.
You guys made some runs at them during the game, but in the third quarter, like, it got tied, and then they kind of put the pedal to the metal late in the third quarter. Just what happened there in terms of what they were able to do late in the game and in the fourth to kind of put the game away.
Yeah, in the third quarter there, they kept Embiid on the floor, who played 40 minutes tonight. We went to our second unit, and at that point we just did not have enough on both ends of the floor. And yesterday's game, we were really good with that unit over there. So we'll be better for next game, and we learned a lot in this game tonight.
You get a feel for this team in terms of the guys that come out there and what you have in terms of what you have out there and what they're able to do. You get kind of a feel now for what they can do now, having gone through the preseason and the regular seasons thus far?
Learning a lot, learning every day, learning how guys are reacting to certain situations, what they're bringing night in, night out, still trying to figure out rotations, who's in, who's not. It's early in the season, but it's still a process for us.